After my incredible cello performance, here I am and ready to present. Okay. Now, I want you to imagine the time that you lost yourself in your work. The time you were so passionate by the passion you felt and the challenge you were coping with. At that moment, your focus reached its highest limits, even beyond that limit. You cannot see, think, or feel anything different than what you do, as if there is nothing else in the entire world. Suddenly, every single thing in your mind gets meaningless, and you become unconscious with the rhythm and the intense concentration. Most of us have lived this situation at least once in our lives, and maybe more, but we couldn't realize it since we didn't know there is such a thing, or we took it in stride and just evaluated it as high level of concentration. However, it can't be underestimated as just good concentration. One of the most popular examples of this hyper-focus state was 1992 NBA Championship Series. Portland Trail Blazers and Chicago Bulls were the teams which qualified for the finals, and Portland were pulling ahead of Chicago in one of the games. However, Michael Jordan emerged from that timeout with an intense concentration. Thus, he achieved 6 3-pointers in a row, and even himself was shocked after his performance. He often described this state as being in the zone. Now, players from different sports fields also describe these similar experiences as being in the zone, when they tune out the crowd and other distractions and just play their games at full performance. But it's not just limited with sports, but also artists, authors, engineers, composers, racers, and musicians. They all experience the same sense of being in the zone. Personally, one of the most significant moments that in my memory that I got in zone was nearly 6 years ago. At that time, I was playing volleyball in a team in my district, and I had already injured my knee and needed to have an operation. It was the last match in the city finals that we had to play in order to win the cup and go to the country finals. When we arrived at the sports hall, we saw our opponent, and I must confess that we underestimated them due to the big physical difference between us. Then the game started, and we couldn't be more wrong about their potential. Then, as our team, we were so shocked that we couldn't play straight in the first set. After that set, we bounced back and kept our motivation high, but the competition was still at its highest. When we reached the last set, we were even with our opponent, and both of us were just 15 points away from the cup. They won nearly 7 points in a row, and none of our players could face with this situation calmly. We lost our rhythm, as if we were paralyzed. 2 points later, it was my turn to go in the game, and I can still feel the rush of adrenaline when I dream that scene in my mind. I was so ambitious and angry at that moment because of the score, and I could never guess that this psychology would help me this much. So I won lots of points in a row, and even though I was the setter in the game, and it was the maximum points that I could get at that position. Since I had never felt or experienced such a thing before, I was bewildered by my performance. Accordingly, it prompted me to think, why can I not play as good as this in my other games? And when I dig a little deeper, I realized that I also lived this situation in other fields that I'm interested in, and it's a special moment called the flow state, which resembles launching a rocket. When all the external factors are provided, the rocket is launched with full power. Similarly, in this case, people are ready to use their full potential when they supply enough of external and internal factors. This theory was first put forward by Mihaly in 1975 as the flow theory. He and others began researching the flow theory after Csikszentmihalyi became fascinated by the artists who will essentially get lost in their work. It's a strange paradox where time seems to stand still, and yet it seems to be over instantly. It feels natural and effortless, even though you are facing a great challenge. We become more present than ever, but we also lose our entire sense of self, time, and place. In his research and experiments, Csikszentmihalyi realized that all kinds of people who engaged in meaningful work can achieve this hyper-focus state and optimal experience. But this poses another question: how to get into this flow state and maintain it? There are a lot of different ways to achieve that zone, but there are 5 essential factors which are present in nearly all of the various models. First, it needs to be a task that you find intrinsically rewarding, because if you want to achieve that zone, you need to be doing something that you see as your gem. Secondly, you need clear goals which you personally set and a sense of progress. Third, the task needs a clear and immediate message and feedback, because it's important to know what you are doing and where you are going in these situations. Fourth, the challenge must match the perceived skills. This requires a sense of progress and a control and the agency over the task. In 1987, researchers published an 8-channel model of flow. As you can see in the graphic, if a task is easy and the skill level is low, people might experience an apathy. But if the challenge level is high and the skill level is not enough to overcome it, then people might also experience an anxiety. That's why the skill level and the challenge level should always match in order to get into that zone. Lastly, you should have an intense focus on the very present moment, without any distractions from the past and the future, to achieve that zone. With all these factors, we might achieve that state of hyper-focus in different fields of life, so that we can make our lives more meaningful and enjoyable by having the passion which all people seek for what we do and contribute in this world. So, we can reach the pride and the satisfaction of what we overcome and achieve by ourselves. As Lao Tzu said, those who flow as life flows know they need no other force. Reaching the flow state might be tough, but once we get there, we no longer need any other force to push us in the fastest way to our most desirable dreams. Isn't that controversial, knowing that we want that thing so much, but we need to get out of the negative zone and learn to run from the 0 point? But remember that 0 is never nothing. In contrast, it's the beginning of everything. Thank you for listening.